On the 8th of December 2016, totems were introduced in the Hags chapter of Flesh and Mud. With totems came strong game-changing perks known as Hex Perks. However, over the years, Hex Perks went from super strong game-changing high-risk high-reward perks to extremely power-crept and unusable, to quite literally being outclassed in every way by survivors, where the survivors themselves can get more value out of a totem than the killer can, and can even hypothetically move faster than the killer. Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be talking about Hex Perks' meteoric fall from grace and how the Boon Perks took over their role as the best use for a totem. How slowly over time Hex Perks got worse and worse until they were just left out of the meta except for super niche meme builds. Now I know when people think about Hex and Boon Perks, they instantly think about Hex Ruin and Circle Feeling, but today I'd like to take a bigger look at Hex Perks and Boons as a whole. Most Hex Perks are good and get buffs more than nerfs, but there's still one flaw that makes them not worth running 9 out of 10 times, and that's the fact that they are incredibly unreliable. Since totems work that one of the 5 totems that spawn will be the Hex perk you pick, it means that you have no say or choice in which of the totem spots your Hex will land on, and this has been the main complaint with Hex perks for years, literally since they've been added. Killers have always requested the ability to place their Hex when they want to and where they want to, so that they can find a Hex totem that isn't in front of a main building or next to a generator. The meme of Ruin being cleansed as soon as the match starts isn't even a meme, it's just how bad Hex totem spawns are on most maps. Like, what the hell is this behavior? You might as well put a giant red arrow on them, saying cleanse me. It would be basically the same thing. In the beginning, Hex perks weren't too powerful with the few that released, however, some of them stood out and became mainstays of Hex perks to this very day. Those two being Ruin and No One Escapes Death, which are both very infamous perks who have more or less stood the test of time, with Ruin ultimately kicking the bucket as behavior hard nerfed into the ground and Noah being the subject of constant debates for years, and now finally getting a nerf that seemingly has fixed it. Many of the Hex perks have a strong effect, like being able to block windows or pallets, instantly down or kill a survivor, reveal their auras, or even give your Hex totems an extra life. However, there is still that big catch of these perks instantly being on a totem when the match starts and could be right next to a survivor when they spawn, meaning that your cool Blood Favor build is instantly useless the second you find your first survivor since the totem spawned on a hill right next to the survivor. Maybe you want to do a cool Devour Hope build, but as soon as you get your first hook, boom, totem destroyed. Now, I'm not against this, as this is the nature for some of the Hex perks that should be spawned as soon as the match starts, like Huntress's Lullaby or Devour Hope, as these are snowball perks that get stronger as the match goes on, so being able to destroy them as soon as you find them and stop the snowball from happening is good, and I like that. However, the other perks like Crowd Control and Blood Favor would be so much better if you could just walk up to a totem and activate it when you need it. While one half of the Hex perks just spawns at the start of the match, the rest have requirements to activate and become much more reliable and thus better. Hex, Plaything, Pentimento, and Face the Darkness need either you or the survivor to perform an action that then lights a totem and activates them. Like for Plaything, you need to hook a survivor and then a Hex totem will light up and activate the perk, meaning that it is reliable. Not like it spawns at the start of the match, and if they break the totem, then you can no longer apply Oblivious to survivors like the third seal. Pentimento needs survivors to break a totem so that you can place a Pentimento totem and start stacking. Face the Darkness will activate on a random totem when a survivor is injured, and if the survivor is down, then it will go back to being inert, and will only stop working if that totem is destroyed while the totem is lit. Okay, so this is me after the Skull Merchant update came out, and they just completely nerfed screaming, so now Face the Darkness is a fucking joke. I mean, what the hell were they thinking with this Scream rework? Like, who asked for this? No one asked for this, and now it just made like half the perks in the game worse. What were they thinking? Along with this, there's Hex Retribution that synergizes with Hex perks and reveals survivors auras when a Hex totem is destroyed. All of these perks have one thing in common that makes them better than the rest, and that is their reliability and consistency. These perks have a clear requirement that will activate when there is one Hex perk that acts like a safeguard and will basically be like a second life for your perks, where if your Hex perk, be it Devour Hope, Huntress's Lullaby, Third Seal, etc. gets destroyed, then the Undying Totem will instead be destroyed, but this still leaves a possibility of both being destroyed very quickly, so it is still unreliable. Undying is good, but basically all it does is just lessen the odds of you getting completely fucked over by your Ruin spawning right on top of a hill. As you can see from the current meta, both killers and survivors would rather have a safe, strong perk instead of a high-risk, high-reward perk, like how Overcharge and Call of Brian dominated due to you not being able to lose them like Hex Ruin. And they have a clear, fast effect of how to pull off, where you only need to kick a generator. Or like how Dead Hard and Off the Record are meta because Dead Hard allows you to counter basically most, if not all, killer powers, and how Off the Record is a safer, more reliable version of Decisive Strike, since with Decisive Strike, the killer could just slug you and not pick you up, and then if they don't pick you up, Decisive Strike doesn't get its use. Whereas Off the Record gives you endurance and is much more safer. And through this consistency, we got the Boon Totem Perks. Boons are quite literally the mirror version of Hex Perks and are the perfected version of a Totem Perk. Where Hex Perks are one-time uses and once broken do not come back, Boon Totems can be used infinitely and be replaced as many times as the player would like. Where Hex Perks are random and can spawn anywhere on the map on any of the 5 totems, survivors can choose which totem they like to place it on and even move it to another totem while the perk is up if they want to. Hex Totems are silent and make no noise while near them, and Boon Totems let out chimes and glow for all survivors, showing them the Boon's location. Hex Perks can affect all survivors simultaneously on the map, whereas Boons only affect survivors in a small radius. You can only have one Hex Perk per totem, while Boons can have multiple Boons per totem. As you can see, Boon Totems are genuinely just the mirrored, perfected version of Hex Perks, being better in almost every way. Infinite uses, very strong effects, and can stack multiple perks onto one totem. Boons took the risk and reward of Hex Totems and removed the risk while keeping the rewards. Now I know what you might be thinking, oh but the only good Boon perk right now is Circle of Healing. And to that I say Boon Totems are relatively new in DBD's lifespan, and haven't had as many releases for survivors to get Boon. Remember that at the time, Ruin is basically the only meta Hex perk, and Noed was only usable at the endgame, and could be completely shut down if all 5 totems were cleansed. However, now technically it could be that if 4 of the 5 totems have a Boon on them, and one of them is cleansed, Noed will have no totem to spawn on. But I will admit that this scenario is basically entirely hypothetical and would never realistically happen. My point being that given time, Boons can become even more busted as more perks are introduced. Boon Exponential is another busted perk that basically gives all survivors in the radius unbreakable, so killers who slug or chain downs like Oni or Twins, lol get fucked again Twins, fuck you too, basically can't use their power to their full ability, and on some maps, the totems are hidden somewhere in the main building or on the second floor of the map, meaning that if the killer wants to snuff out the Boon totem, they'll have to go out of their way to find it and snuff it. Honestly, one of the Boon perks I am extremely afraid of is Dark Theory, as this perk is just a few numbers away from being overpowered, as getting free haste in a loop is insane. Since the perk lingers even after the totem is snuffed or you leave the area, it means that if the killer goes to snuff out the totem mid-loop, you'll have a few seconds to go escape to another tile. Against the slower 110 movement speed killers or M1 killers, this perk can make it much harder for them to catch up to you. And if you compare it with Refined Serum and Hope, you would get a 14% speed boost. That's why I'm afraid of this perk, because even buffing it to 3 or 4% means that you can now move faster than the killer. Hope gives 7% haste, Refined Serum gives 5% haste, and Dark Theory gives 2% haste. So in total, this is a whopping 114% speed boost, meaning that you are faster than the 110 killers. The only requirement to this happening is that you need to have all 5 generators done, and either you or a teammate have a Dark Theory boon set up somewhere, and mid-chase you pop the serum on yourself, and now a killer cannot catch up to you without Bloodlust. Yeah, now that's a real Dark Theory. Boons currently have no catch to having multiple or your entire loadout filled up with Boon perks. There's no catch such as, for each additional boon that is being placed on a totem, it takes X seconds longer. So you can stack 4 Boon perks on one totem and it takes the same time as it would to set up 1 Boon perk. With this, you effectively set up a Resident Evil safe room where nobody can get hurt. With all boons equipped in one loadout, you effectively get 6 perks in one build. Circle of Healing gives Botany Knowledge and Self-Care, Dark Theory gives Hope, Exponential gives Unbreakable, and Shadow Step gives Distortion and Lucky Break / Dance With Me. I'm not sure which I'd really say it is since it removes scratch marks only but not blood. So from one totem, you can move faster, revive yourself faster and infinitely, immunity to aura reading perks, heal teammates faster, leave no scratch marks when running, and can heal yourself infinitely. The catch? Finding a totem, which is not a problem for most DBD players, and there are tons of perks or even bringing a map that shows where totems are, and spending 14 seconds on it. And remember, this is for the whole team, not just you. There are a few ways to quote-unquote counter a boon, but none of them are good. The first way is to bring the perk Shattered Hope, which will destroy a totem when you snuff a boon, and reveal the aura of survivors in its radius for 8 seconds. This is another one of behavior's band-aid fixes like Borrow Time or Decisive Strike instead of actually dealing with the core issue. The perk is bad due to the fact that it only works in countering boons, and obviously if nobody on the survivor team has a boon, then you've wasted a perk slot, which could be used for a better aura reading perk like A Nurse's Calling, Barbecue and Chili, or Darkness Reveal. You could bring Thrill of the Hunt, which makes it so that cleansing a totem or blessing it takes much longer, but this isn't a counter, but rather just an annoyance since now it takes longer to do. You can still bless a Hex totem, but the time it takes to cleanse is added onto the boon's 14-second time, so now it takes 28 seconds total. So the only way to shut down this perk is to bring a perk that doesn't even have a 100% chance to work, as obviously if nobody brings a Boon Perk, this perk won't work. Since a Boon Totem only needs one user, they effectively give the whole team an additional perk, so other survivors don't need to bring other perks like Unbreakable or Healing Perks, since someone can just bring Exponential or Circle of Healing. Boon Perks will be so much more balanced and better off if they had a set amount of tokens. Placing your boon or moving it while the perk is up would use up one of the tokens, and would punish survivors for using the same totem 6 times in a row for one boon and healing the whole team in 15 seconds, and would reward killers for going out of their way to snuff out the totem. Or making it so that the loud sound the boon makes when it is placed is directional, just like the Wraith or the Spirit, instead of global so that you can know which direction the boon is, instead of just knowing that they've placed the boon totem for the 6th time this match. Hex Perks also have much more counterplay to them, but this is more due to the fact that Hex Perks have been in the game since year 1. There are maps that reveal totems, multiple perks that can reveal totems, perks that make it so that you can break totems faster, etc. Where boons feel more like a chore to play against and deal with instead of something that you can counterplay against like exhaustion perks. Do I cleanse an unlit totem? Since if you cleanse a totem it no longer can be blessed, but if you don't, you might not be able to use some of your perks like Inner Healing or Clairvoyance. But if you don't cleanse it, it could pop up as no-ed. So you have to make the decision if you'll sacrifice another player's perk for yourself. Obviously this is a non-issue for Survive with Friends, but we're talking about solo queue here. Overall, boons are very new and have a lot of potential, but as they are now, they are an objective upgrade over Hex Perks in every aspect, as they are just much more reliable and safer to use instead of being high risk, high reward. It is just the reward for both you and your team. If Hex totems ever get a rework, it would be so nice to finally be able to use some Hex perks mid-match and catch survivors off guard, but sadly, their risk is too much and have been forced to face the darkness. I just want to thank everyone, each and every one of you, for supporting me on my last video about Freddy. I'm just so honored and shocked at how many views and likes and people who actually said it was a good video. I'm just surprised. I can't even put it into words really. I'm just blown away. I know the video wasn't the best in terms of audio quality. I'm going to be buying a new mic soon after I finish some personal life stuff where I'm moving, and after that I'm going to be getting a much better, well, hopefully better mic so that I can be putting out better content for you guys, because I really want to do my best for all of you and do the best I can to put out the best content I can. So again, just thank each and every one of you for the support and all the kind messages you gave me. I'm just shocked. I'm just blown away. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you all have a great, phenomenal day.